Hi guys. So today we'll quickly talk about what is the criteria which is being used by European universities to give you admission, whether grades are more important or whether extracurricular activity is important, what is important. So I just encountered on one of the YouTube, or WhatsApp groups, this particular criteria, which is university evaluation process, and it says educational qualification is 35%, English proficiency is 20, motivation letter is 10, and some internship experience interview etc is 35. Total score 100 and pass rate is 60. I think it's important first of all to understand that the evaluation process is different for different universities and it is different for different countries. The good thing and the good news, especially for people who have low scores, is that educational qualification or your grades in your undergraduate program, if you're applying for masters, or your grades in +1 and +2 if you're applying for bachelor's program, the grades do not matter that much. I think the first point, which is educational qualification, I would say that yes, it is 30 to 35 or 40%, but there are two important things here. The first is that how good your grades are, and even more important is how relevant your courses are. So if you are, let's say, moving from civil engineering to computer science, then it's going to be more difficult. So it's a very broad way somebody has put it. So this page is not done by me, by the way. This is a page which was just forwarded to me. So I'm not sure if you really want to rely on it or not, but this is the first thing. So educational qualification is not just about qualification, it's a mixture of grades and relevance. So how relevant your grades are, courses are. So that's number one. Number two, English proficiency. It's not that important actually, especially if you talk about Germany, right? So their German proficiency is more important. If you go to Italy, then again, the English proficiency is not really that they are looking for. It's more of a criteria that you should have a minimum score in whatever IELTS or TOEFL or whatever that course is, but it's never a criteria in the evaluation process. You need to be able to speak good enough English so that you can complete your program, complete your master's or bachelor's, but you really they're not looking for very high grades when it comes to English. They are only looking for whether you can speak and understand in English. So I would strike out. I would say point number 2 is not relevant. Point number 3, which is motivation letter and letter of recommendation. I think motivation letter, or as some people say, which is a statement of purpose, is actually a lot more important than 10 percentage points. I would say that it is up to, in some universities, 20-25% important. So there are people or professors or junior professors or academic advisors or research assistants. They would actually go through your application. They would read each and every word of your application. And that is really, something which you need to take care of. So a lot of people miss out on this. You really need to have a very good statement of purpose. You really need to have a very good motivation letter. Also, letter of recommendation, they know that more or less everybody is just going to get it from professors from their university or some company. So I think it's really important that the professor you are getting recommendation from has some connection to the university where you're applying. That is the best case, but in many cases that's not possible, but you can try for it. Number 4 is relevance with previous education. I don't think that's really 35 percentage points. I mean, for CV and internship and job experience and interview, I think it's a lot of things in there, but job experience is going to help you to make the transition. So let's assume that you have done a civil engineering bachelor and then you want to get into a master's in computer science. Then if you worked as a software professional for 1 year or 2 years, that is actually going to help. But whether that is going to be 35%, it's questionable. And finally, this is no pass or fail. It's all relative. So if they have 50 seats and if 200 people apply, they pick the top 50. If 500 people apply, they still will have 50 seats. So they'll pick 50 out of 500. So it's all relative. So how good your profile is against other candidates, and you really need to be persistent with your application. So there are a few things which you really need to take care of. One is that do not apply for one single university. Do not apply for very few narrow programs. Apply for many, especially in Europe, because your application fees is almost zero, and in many cases it's just zero. And don't go by these evaluation process stuff which is being put online. You really need to talk to somebody who has seen the process, not as a student, but somebody who actually has seen the process, knows the process from an evaluator perspective. So somebody who's evaluating, like a professor or a research assistant, can actually tell you, or academic advisor can tell you how they will evaluate your candidature. And I can tell you whatever is going on WhatsApp with this particular page, it's really not the way it is showing up here. I do not know about universities in UK, Canada, US that much. If I look at this, but no university would put this kind of stuff online, and I would highly discourage you to start thinking about your admission in this evaluation process metrics. I think the most important thing, especially if you talk about German universities, is the video which I had made about course matching. So course matching is that let's say you have done civil engineering, and then within civil engineering you have done fluid mechanics, you have done structural engineering, and so on. So when you're applying for masters, they're not just looking at your overall degree, they're actually looking at what courses you have taken up below within that degree. So for example, if you are applying for masters in computer science, you've done your bachelor's in civil engineering, then you could have taken a lot of electives in computer science, and that can save you. So I think it's super important. Even if your grades are not great, you can still get very good admissions. I have seen a lot of students who get through with low grades, and it's not at all difficult. I think the most important thing, how relevant your bachelor is with the master's program, and then you need to maintain some hygiene factors. The hygiene is that you really know basic English, which will help you to study, and you have some kind of experience preferably. But if there is no experience, then also it's fine. You should have done some kind of relevant projects. So I would say that this page which is going on is really not something which you should go for. The more important thing is to look at your profile from a relevancy point of view, not from these 4 or 5 points. And there is definitely no pass percentage like 60% and then you are pass, and that just sounds very childish. All right, guys, so that was it for today, and I hope you got something out of it. I'll share this video in the WhatsApp groups as well, and then if you have any questions, just let me know. All the best.